Today I'm with someone I'm really happy to have with us, Jennifer Buchnan. Jennifer is the founder and president of JB Music Therapy. JB Music Therapy is a really interesting business that Jennifer's going to tell us about, but she's also an award-winning author and a great entrepreneur. So Jennifer, great to have you. Welcome to the show today.
Thanks for having me.
So I'm going to ask you about music therapy as a business in a second, but first, could you tell us a little bit about how you learned about the power of music therapy and what music can do for somebody?
Oh gosh, our origin story, right?
Exactly.
What in the world would take you to be a music therapist? You know, I had a really unique moment when I was a tween, and my granddad had just suffered a second major stroke. He was placed in long-term care where he would reside for the remaining years of his life. He was no longer able to walk or talk. And it would be Granny who said, "Jenny, would you learn your granddad's favorite song?" And it just sounds so simple, how simple that can be. But what you have to understand is that granddad was miserable. And that was before the stroke. He was really, really grumpy. He and I didn't have any connection that I felt anyway. And when she asked me that, it was pretty emotive. I showed up the following Friday and I had the song in hand and my guitar, and I began to sing his song, which was White Cliffs of Dover, way back from years ago. It was old then, it's even older now. And amazing things happened in that moment. The screaming lady down the hall got closer and closer and closer, but started to sing.
I'm in love with you.
Did you have many sweethearts? And the wandering guy who would wander around the facility wandered right on in, and Granny was able to pull up a chair. And I would see this grumpy old man cry for the very first time.
Wow.
And that connection had rooted me into what we call this power of music in a real way, in a way that I saw health changes. I saw mood changes. I saw a granddad who couldn't speak, but could connect with me in so many other ways. And it basically changed my relationship with him. It changed my relationship definitely in long-term care as I learned more about it. And I'm very grateful that it eventually led me to pursue my degree and become a music therapist.
Well, that really is a moving story, and how great. And so you figure out a way to turn that into a business. So tell us about music therapy generally. What is it and how does it work?
So music therapy is part of our allied health community. So when you think of physiotherapy or going to a massage therapist, you know, music therapy is working with a professional. Often we're in hospitals at the bedsides, sometimes working with groups. We work everywhere from corrections to working in schools with young kids, learning challenges. There's a real spectrum of specialties within music therapy. And so when we're talking about creating a business, we're essentially saying starting a private practice.
Right.
My understanding is that out of all the therapists in the world, more than 50% of those therapists are in something like private practice, which is setting up your own business, setting up all your own unique systems, and then ensuring that the public is served to the best of our abilities in a very safe way.
But JB Music Therapy isn't just you in a private practice, right? It's a bigger business than that. Tell us about the size and what your business really looks like now.
For me to do the reach that I dreamed of doing, it couldn't just be me. I work with a beautiful team of 19 certified music therapists.
Come on now, everybody. Come on now, everyone. We're like a locomotive under the big hot sun.
Our youngest client's 2 months old, and our eldest is about 104, I think, this week. So we see a lot of different people. We go to over 100 different sites at different times throughout the year. And we have been around for 30 years, seen thousands of individuals, and it's been a real pleasure.
I think your point needs to be underscored. My new book is called Your Small Business Boom. And one of the chapters in the book is called The Millionaire Solopreneur, right? Because an issue a lot of people like you, or when I was a speaker or a lawyer, I was a solopreneur, have is, how do you grow your business? How do you scale your business when it tends to be a one person, freelance kind of thing? And the secret is you have to get help, right? You have to bring in other people who can either do what you can't do or can duplicate what you do. And that's how you scale, and that's how you grow. You brought in partners, and I call it, for the solopreneur, I call it the hub and spoke, right? You're in the middle, and then you just get all these different people who fill in your gaps and who can do your marketing and who can do whatever it is. And all of a sudden you have a business with 19 people that you're working with, right?
Yeah. And particularly, like, because we're a service, which is so different than having like a product based, it's that human to human connection. So you need more humans.
So let me ask you about that, right? So the pandemic affected all of us in so many ways, and small businesses in particular, and many didn't make it, and a lot actually did figure out how to pivot and grow. And it doesn't sound like, I know for a fact that you're one of those businesses that was able to do that. So tell us about, I'm sure the pandemic must have been super scary for you because you had a in-person live business. How did you make that pivot, and how did you figure out how to go virtual?
Yeah. And extra scary because we work exclusively in a healthcare environment with the most vulnerable.
Right.
So literally PPE, like going in with a hazmat suit. We worked in ICU through the entire pandemic, right at the front lines, in full suits, learning to use our guitars or our flutes or our fiddles in gloves and masks and all the things. So,
but then you also had a virtual component to the business. Is that right?
We had a virtual component. We also got a robot. One of the places we wanted to continue serving is a highly specialized unit, the burns unit. It's also the most vulnerable to infection. So we got a robot that would wheel into somebody's room. It's like a big, huge iPad on a wheel, and it can lower right down to someone's bedside. So we could do sessions from our home, but visit a patient right in the hospital.
Amazing. So a lot of people ended up trying to run a virtual business. I mean, are there any lessons you think you learned about virtual businesses that people could learn from you?
Practice all the time. This was about finding the right gear. Don't be afraid to test gear. Get good at the gear. Make sure that you ask the person how they're feeling. One of the things we learned is that, I could sit really close like this, but I can also sit further. And even just proximity.
That's a little thing that's a big thing. Yeah.
It's a big thing.
And I know behind the scenes you use Zoho, our friends at Zoho, right?
It's been wonderful. So we also have a Zoho partner that we work with, and then we have the Zoho platform. Integrating all of our systems administratively behind the scenes has allowed us to be able to be really present with our clients, so we can automate as much as possible. That's really critical for a business like ours.
People become entrepreneurs for all sorts of reasons, but generally we're enthusiastic and we fall in love with something, or we're great at music and we figure out, our music can change someone's life, but you can't just be enthusiastic. You actually have to become a business person too. So that's why a tool like Zoho or whatever tool you use, you have to figure that part of the business out as well, right? It can't just be doing that thing you love to do. You also have to learn the other parts, and then you get to stick around for the long haul, I think.
Exactly. I wouldn't be here 31 years later this next month, 31 years. It cannot just be the passion of what you're doing. You have to be willing and open to developing every layer of skill set required and collecting those tools that are best going to support you in your particular environment. And we're all different. So it's about finding the best things.
31 years. What's your secret sauce? What can someone watching this video learn from JB Music Therapy and from Jennifer that they can take away and use in their own business?
When you find the right mission for you, when you truly recognize what your purpose in this world and whatever you're wanting to leave in a better place, if you can match that up to your energy and your willingness to develop the necessary skills, I call that piece the bliss point.
Mm-hmm.
When you can put all that together, you can find this incredible bliss point that I'm not saying it's all going to be easy, but it will be something that has a level of sustainability so you can continue doing it.
Like when I was a lawyer and I realized suing people for a living maybe wasn't my bliss point. Like kind of like
I can't imagine.
Yeah, right. Oh, Jennifer, thank you so much for being with us today, and keep up the great work, and we'll see you.
Such a pleasure.